Okay, so a lot of you guys requested me to make a skill build, but I've already done that like multiple times and I don't like repeating my builds. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make you a skill build, which is also a crit build, also a support build, and a healing build at the same time. Yes, I like making weird builds and this is definitely one of them. I'm actually using final measure, or should I say measured assembly, to make all of these things happen that I just mentioned. So without wasting any of your time, let me show you the build. Now, as for the weapons, well, honestly, I will just tell you to use Bluescreen, nothing else but Bluescreen because it's just so amazing. But if you want, you can use the capacitor. It'll do good damage as well. Since we have a high skill tier, a capacitor will do more damage because, you know, it gets more damage, depends on how many skill tiers you have. So that's why. However, Bluescreen was just amazing, okay? It has saved my life and my team members' lives many times because of the talent. And we can easily proc the talent because we are deploying our skill very often. And the disrupt and disorient helps a lot. But one thing you have to keep in mind when building with Bluescreen is that it doesn't give you any crit chance or crit damage on the mods. So you need a lot of crit chance on your build. So keep that in mind, okay? Otherwise, it's just an amazing LMG. It works really well with this build. Your Bluescreen might end up doing more damage than mine is because I don't have damage to armor, so I only have rate of fire, and my weapon expertise is only 10%. So if you have higher expertise and damage to armor, then obviously you'll do more damage. Currently, I'm doing 620k to 700k crits on the body. The reason why I said two damage numbers is because one damage is just normal damage and the other one is overcharge damage, and the overcharge will give me even more damage through the build. So that's why. Again, highly recommend to use the Bluescreen. Now, as for the build, well, this is the build over here. As you can see, I know it's a bit different than what you probably have seen from others, but over here, what I'm doing is I'm not only dealing damage, like my damage is good, I'm also buffing my team members' damage, and I'm also healing them and providing a lot of utility at the same time. Like, this is not the final build for the final measure. You can make some changes, like swap a piece here and there, which you can do that on the fly, by the way, while you're in the mission to basically get an advantage, or if the situation requires you to do that, which I'll show you in a moment. If you have those pieces, you can do those changes. So first, just start with the gear here. Obviously, we have 4 pieces of final measure, measured assembly, basically. So 2 piece gives you 15% of, skill haste. 3 piece gives you 60% of repair skill and 40% of explosive resistance. That is really nice, to be honest, for a 3-piece set bonus. Yeah. And now 4 piece is where you get the talent called Huddle, and this is where all the magic happens. So you receive 1 skill tier for each ally agent that is within your hive or smart cover. Yes. Now, hive has the biggest amount of range, so we will focus on that because smart cover will not have the crazy high range unless it's like overcharge, which will do that, don't worry. Now, when you're at 6 skill tier, your skills will automatically going to become overcharged, which is nice, and you'll get that overcharge for 15 seconds. Now, there's a 40-second cooldown for that. If you wear the chest piece of the measured assembly, that actually gets reduced to 25 seconds, but we're not going to use the chest piece, obviously. Now, one cool feature about this, final measure is, or measured assembly again, is that enemy mortars or enemy skills gets destroyed the moment they enter the range of your skill. Now, why it is so amazing? Because if you played Legendary Mission, you know that you get spammed by those killing drones, like, this drone that comes and explode on you. Yeah, that one. It just takes care of them so well, and I can't tell you how amazing that it feels like. It just automatically destroys them. It's so nice. Now, for the mask, I have skills here. Crit chance, which is not maxed out, I need resources, and a crit chance mod. So that's the mask here. For the holster, I have weapon damage and crit chance. And for the knee pads, I have skill tier and crit damage. Now, let's come to the backpack here for a second. The reason why I have the backpack, because I just said that it destroys the drone, but it has a cooldown, right? You have a 10-second cooldown, but the enemies in the legendary missions, they just spam those drones, right? We don't have 10 seconds. Come on. That's why I'm using the backpack, because that cooldown is now 1 second. You're going to be instantly destroying those drones coming at you. I mean, it is amazing. So that's why I'm using that. And you have no idea how easy it becomes when you can play the mission without worrying about killing drones spamming on your position. So we have crit chance and crit damage for the backpack as well. Now, you can make changes to the backpack, which I'll show you in a moment, but let's just talk about the gloves for a second. I'm using the overdogs to give myself more damage. I'm trying to be selfish here a little bit, so we are using that gloves, and obviously, we're getting the damage. However, you can change it to the BTSU gloves if you have the BTSU. On the fly, if you need to, just destroy your hive. This is a quick tip for you. You can do that, actually. Like, your hive is on the ground. You're healing, your team members and stuff. and you have a little bit of charge left, you can destroy your hive, swap to the BTSU and then destroy the hive, give everybody the BTSU buff. You can actually do that, like the overcharge and stuff. And this overcharge will not interfere with your, build's overcharge, which is amazing. Actually, they're like totally separate. So that's why I would say you can make that change. Now, there's one more change you can also do. For example, let's say a lot of your team members are just dead. So what you can do is you can actually swap your backpack to something like the Birdie's Quick Fix and then go and revive them instantly. You can absolutely do that as well. Now, if I show you my stats here, you can see my crit chance actually pretty good. I can get it higher if I, optimize my build. Crit damage is all right. As for defensive stats, we have, 50% of explosive resistance, but that's something, I guess. But yeah, nothing crazy happening here. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind that I'm using the Overdog's gloves, so that's why my crit chance, crit damage is pretty good. If you swap it to the BTSU, obviously we're gonna lose some crit chance and crit damage. So yeah, keep in mind. Now, as for the chest piece, well, I'm being a little bit selfish here on the chest piece because I'm using a Sheshka chest piece that gives me crit chance. I have weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and a crit damage mod with the Obliterate talent. So I'm trying to increase my personal damage. So with this build, you're not just buffing or helping or healing them, you're actually doing damage. And that's why I chose this particular chest piece. But you can make the changes if you want to be that full-on support. You can absolutely change the talent to something like Empathic Resolve to give your team members more, damage. Because you're healing, right? So this will work. You can also use something like the Ferocious Calm, which if you're using Capacitor as your main weapon, you can use this if you have the chest piece. This gives you assault rifle damage because it's a Fenris piece, right? So you get the assault rifle damage. You also get the perfect Overwatch talent. It only requires you like 8 seconds to stay in cover and it procs, and you get 14% of weapon damage and skill damage for you and your team members. So yeah, if you have this chest piece, you can absolutely use it. Now, let's talk about the most important part of the build, which are the skills. Skills matter the most here. You can change them to different skills as well if you want to. Depends on, the content you're playing. However, I'm using the Smart Cover and the Healing Hive. The Smart Cover I'm using is the Precision Smart Cover, not the Fortified one. The Fortified that gives you the bonus armor, but Precision gives you crazy amount of weapon handling and obviously damage to target out of cover. You give this much damage boost to any DPS player like Striker, Tipping Scale, they will destroy the room. And if you do that during, boss phase, they will melt the boss. It is that good. Yes, it is awesome. Now, the only downside is that it has a huge cooldown, right? But you can kind of bypass that cooldown if you're using the BTSU gloves. You can destroy your hive, basically overcharge yourself, give yourself back the smart cover, and obviously overcharge smart cover. So you can have back-to-back smart cover like that, which will be over a minute worth of, timer, like duration. And that is enough for those DPS players to absolutely destroy the room, like I said. Now, another problem is to make people sit inside the cover. Like usually people don't sit on the cover, right? Especially randoms, especially the ones with the shield. They use the shield, they just roam around and block your view and just stay outside, right? You know what I mean. But if you're playing with like clan members or friends, and if you tell them what you're doing, they will absolutely go in cover to take this boost. Like they'll be stupid not to. Everybody wants more damage, and this is some huge damage numbers. I'm not kidding. And also remember, you're going to be making this overcharge. The damage number you're seeing right now that it gives you is tier 5. You will be having overcharge. Overcharge is like 100% weapon handling and crazy amount of damage to target out of cover, like 40% or something. It is insane. I know. It can turn any build into DPS build. That's how much damage it's providing. Now, as for the second skill, it has to be a hive to trigger your gear set, obviously. So I'm using the healing hive, the restorer hive that is. But if somebody's using a skill build like refactor and healing your entire group, then you can just change this to something like the artificial hive from the technician specialization, the purple hive that is. Now, why is that? Well, it also has a really big radius, so it'll also trigger your gear set and save you from the the enemy skills and drones and stuff like that. But also it'll buff the skill damage, like it gives skill efficiency, right? So if somebody's using a skill build, they'll do even more damage. And if there's players with shield on, like DPS players or tank players, like Foundry Bulwark, for example, this will also heal their shield so they can tank even more bullets. Now, there's one fun thing you can do. Again, it's totally fun. You don't have to do it, but it's kind of hilarious. You can actually add a decoy and then put the artificial hive next to it, and the decoy will stay there basically forever because the artificial hive will heal it. So it'll take all the aggros, the decoy that is, and the hive will keep on healing the decoy, which will make it stay there forever. I mean, as long as the the duration is there. But I wouldn't recommend you to change your smart cover to do that, obviously, because you'll be losing a lot of damage there. However, if somebody else has a decoy, you can actually do that, and it's quite fun. Again, you don't have to do it. It's kind of stupid, I know, but it's pretty fun and hilarious, so, you might want to try it. So that's basically for the build. I do have another build coming really soon, which again requested by a lot of you guys. I know you want me to use the Ravenous. Don't worry, it's coming. It's already done. For this build, I would say was kind of a weird build to make, but it worked really well, especially when I was playing with randoms, you know, and they didn't know what I was doing. So obviously they were not taking the advantage. But once they learned what I was doing, they actually went back in cover and take the advantage of the build. And if you're playing with something like a friend or like clan members and they know what you're doing, they will 100% going to take the advantage of it. It is really fun and pretty good damage buff, to be honest. So give it a go. Let me know your thoughts on the comment section and leave a like, subscribe maybe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Till then, peace.